time. I'm a fan of your work. I've enjoyed you in your previous projects, and it's even more enjoyable to see you in a film like Farewell Amor and being able to shine some light on an immigrant experience that we aren't very privy to when we're not immigrants like the people we're watching in this film. How
Yeah.
did you connect with this project, and what is the origin story of how this came to be?
I connected with it mostly because it's a love story. I know we've been sort of framing it as an immigrant story, but really immigration doesn't play a role in the narrative, so to
Mhm.
speak. It's sort of the prequel to what happens. It's the obstacle that's sort of off screen, which
Mhm.
has kept them apart for 17 years. But the film starts with them reuniting after 17 years, and it's seen from three points of view. Uh, and that's the thing that sort of spoke to me, is because uh, we can all see things in our own different perspective, in our own different way. And when matters of the heart come to play, if you've ever gone through a breakup and you're like, what? You were thinking what? You said, and that's what's so interesting about this story for me, is that their relationships uh, were existing a lot in their imaginations. And when they had to meet for the first time after 17 years, it's like the clash of reality and imagination comes clear. And that's really what spoke to me about the film. And it's inspired by Ekwa's family member who was in a similar situation, was trying to bring, or is still trying to bring, a family member from Tanzania to the States, and has not been able to do so for immigration reasons. And her,
Absolutely.
yeah, she was imagining what would be the story if they did arrive. And so that's what the genesis for this film was.
That was what was particularly interesting to me from seeing it from the three different perspectives. We see Walter's perspective, Esther, Sylvia. Sylvia's was particularly interesting to me because the children always see things differently. You know, they have this notion, they want this romanticized idea of their parents living happily ever after. Then there's the separation from trying to come over to the States. And then when they finally get there, it doesn't quite work immediately as she, well, it doesn't quite work as she wishes, not to mention the struggle she's having adjusting to a new place and new ideas while her mother is still kind of clinging to those old ideas in addition to trying to reconnect with her father. When looking at the three points of view, obviously as Walter, you're very clear with how your point of view for the film is. What was most intriguing, and whose point of view was most intriguing to you outside of Walter's, Esther's, or Sylvia when you saw it back?
Well, I think the key question really for me was, uh, and that is, what had he actually told them about what to expect, and how had they interpreted that? Uh, had he told his daughter that, for the first part, she'll have to sleep in the living room? Had he told his wife they're living in a tiny one bedroom, they'll be living in a one bedroom apartment? And how did they envision that? Uh, because when they arrive, it's sort of like a harsh reality. Um, and I think one of the key things, a pivotal moment for Walter and his daughter, is that moment where they're on the couch, and she's sitting on the couch and he's telling her, uh, being a black person in America is not easy. And we need to sometimes carry ourselves in a way that's not threatening, um, but don't let that hold you back.
Mhm.
Feel you come from a long tradition, and dance is an integral part of that. So soar. So I feel like, in a way, it's the reverse with his wife, because dance was an integral part of their life before, but we don't see them really connecting in terms with dance in the film, because they don't dance together anymore.
Right, right. Yeah, that was compelling in that that's very clear. We know as Black people that to be true, but it wasn't the focus of the film. It was kind of like, things that we need to know that could possibly affect their lives, but it didn't detract us from the message, as you said, that it is a full love story and making sure that's in there, especially since it was part of their previous lives.
Yeah.
Working with your co-stars, there are so many beautiful moments. The chemistry between the three of you as a family and zeroing is is quite stunning and quite moving. When the three of you got together to craft these family scenes, what type of conversations did you have with each other? And what did you want to make sure that you conveyed to the audience to keep us drawn in and tuned into the arc of the story?
Well, thank you. That's a great question. I feel like uh, I was a huge fan of Zainab's work before. If you've ever seen her in The Convert or Eclipsed on Broadway, uh, just be blown away. So I've known her work and was a fan of hers and wanted to connect with her in a long time for a long time. So it felt like a long distance relationship that was coming to fruition in a way, much like in the film. So I felt like I had that connection with her. And Jamie was, I was just blown away that it was her first job because she's just such a consummate professional and she just was so well prepared and brought 110%. And basically, we had 2 weeks to sit around the table with the director and look at the script. And she, Equa, had us improvise dialogue, like phone conversations that would have happened before we actually arrived. She arrived, they arrived. So we got to explore like possible backstories for them, which I feel like enriched their narrative and made it that much easier for us to play when we were actually on set.
Mhm. I love the addition of other characters. Like there's the neighbor who I particularly like the neighbor because we have habits here in the United States as Black Americans, and we call each other queen and sis and all these different things. And just Esther's reaction to her saying that, you never really occur to that. We get in sort of this vacuum here of wanting an attachment to the motherland, but the attachment we've kind of created is not what they are actually doing there.
Yeah,
So to interject that, um, when you look at the connection that Black Americans have to Africans and diaspora, the connection is strengthening now as the years pass, but that is definitely something that's mildly addressed in there. Is
yeah,
that bond strengthening, and why was it important to include those things in the story? You're obviously not the writer, but it
yeah.
was pivotal to see those kind of connections between Africa and Americans.
No, I think that was my hats off to Joie Ali because she was phenomenal. Every moment she has just is like she would get the biggest response when we had the screening at Sundance. And people just connected to her.
Mhm.
Uh, and I think what's so wonderful about it is sometimes you can have people who are removed, who are, African Americans who are more African, than Africans themselves, or dress or put on the apparel or the lingo.
Mhm.
And you have more Africans who are more European in style. And so that's what happened for me was that was a meeting of those two. Zainab's character, the mother, is dresses in Western wear and follows this Western religion, so to speak, Christianity. Uh, and Joie's character dresses in African attire. And we're not sure what her faith is, but she does sort of dismissively talk about white Jesus.
Mhm.
So they're both like, but they're both very much similar in both their connections to spirituality and womanhood and belonging, uh, and trying to overcome hardships. Like they both seem to have the same core but different accoutrements. And so I thought it was really smart for Equa to sort of show us that, for the diaspora to see the sort of the extremes, the sort of North and South Pole, but really is that connection.
Mhm. After being on the Shy for many seasons, and oh, rest in peace, Ronnie. I was rooting for Ronnie. Oh, it's like Ronnie almost got it. He almost got that happiness he'd
Yeah.
been searching for. I imagine it was, refreshing to kind of return to a different sort of acting roots in doing a film like this and being able to differentiate yourself as an actor from that same type of role that you had been doing. When you look at the type of roles that you choose, what is important for you as an actor with every role you select or project you participate in?
Oh, thank you for the kind words for the Shy, for watching and for rooting for Ronnie.
For Ronnie.
Yeah, poor Ronnie. But it was,
I saw a lot of my brother in Ronnie. I have a brother like that, and I saw a lot of him in Ronnie.
oh wow, wow, that's amazing.
Mhm.
Yeah, he was an incredible character to play, and I was so grateful for that 3-year run. For myself, after the first episode when he killed Coogie, I was just counting the days because you don't kill a kid and get away with it. So I was grateful that the writers allowed him to at least last the 3 seasons, and
Hmm.
and he went out literally with a bang. Uh,
Definitely.
so for me, this story was, such a great counter and great thing to follow the Shy with, because it's such an opposite uh, character, so different from Ronnie on the show.
Mhm.
And what I look for in a script sometimes is like, or a project rather, is it going to challenge me? Is it something different from what I've done before? And more importantly, who's working on it? Who are the people? And sometimes when you say you play tennis with someone who's better than you, they raise your game, or basketball with someone who's better than you, they elevate your game. And so
Mhm.
for me, that's also key, is who is a component, who's behind the project, because you can have a great script, but not a great team behind it, and won't sail. So I was really excited about this because I love Equa's work, and Zainab and Joa and Jamie, and yeah, I'm a huge fan of all of them.
Right, right. Premiering a film at Sundance, what was the response from the audience? I've read some of the awards that the film has been receiving, and it's always a different type and honor when you get to present at Sundance. It's very, very specific to the film community. So much different than what we see in terms of wide release.
Yeah.
What was the Sundance experience like for all of you together and being able to present this beautiful work?
Well, we're so fortunate, because, as you said, it's like the pinnacle, and just having that stamp of approval opens the doors in so many ways. I mean, I'm here talking to you in part because it premiered at Sundance, so it has that sort of, yeah, that moniker, and that really is, you couldn't ask for a better way to launch. But it was really through Ekwa and Huria, our producer, uh, their connections, because they were both in the Sundance training programs, and so they've come up through the ranks through Sundance and had something to deliver.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And lastly, what is next? What are you working on now? And if you are searching for that next project, what direction would you like to go? Because we've seen you as a man and recovering from addiction and inner city. We are seeing this beautiful love story that touches upon connection to African roots. Where would you like to go? Broad in your range as an actor, and you pretty much can do anything. Where would you like to go?
I think for me, the key I want to do is work with people who are, at the top of their game, and in film, television. It's been a while since I've done theater, um, so maybe that might be something to dip my toe back into. But really, um, I have a couple things on the horizon that I can't quite go into detail about, but there's a couple of good projects that I'm really excited about that are on the horizon. Um, uh, One of which will be coming to Netflix, and a very opposite end of Ronnie. Ronnie was on the other side of the law, and this would be on the other side of the law.
Mm,
So it would be really great, counter to Ronnie, and even to this movie, would be a completely different character. So hopefully we'll be talking about that this time next year.
I think you'd make a good bad guy because
Okay.
I mean, like you have like a such a quiet strength.
Uh-huh.
Like you'd be kind of a really good, not so much like a super villain like a Marvel thing. I mean, even though that's cool,
Yeah.
big Marvel movie, big dollars, but even just kind of like a layered bad guy where you see the origin story and something happened to him when he was a kid. And I think I would love to see you in that type of role too, just given your range and just the type of projects you've been involved with. I think that would be super duper cool.
From your
But
mouth to God's ears to the universe. Thank you for that.
thank you.